This question says, use the graph of the basic function and a combination of transformations to sketch the graph. We have the function g of x equals 2 times the absolute value of x minus 1 minus 3. So we want to start off with the basic graph of y equals absolute value of x. I'm going to make a picture, or make a chart of x's and y's. Choose my x's to be -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. This is just a standard set of points that I always choose to make sure I get a few negatives, a few positives, and 0. I'm going to substitute these values into the absolute value of x. Absolute value of -2 is +2. Absolute value is distance from 0. So that distance is always going to come out positive or 0. Absolute value of -1 is +1. Absolute value of 0 is 0. Absolute value of 1 is 1. Absolute value of 2 is 2. So now we have a set of ordered pairs, and we can draw the graph. We have 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, -1, 1, -2, 2, and we get our V-shaped graph of y equals absolute value of x. And that's why you can see all these answer choices have this V-shaped graph, because we start with that because the absolute value is there. And now if we look at our function, we have g of x equals 2 times the absolute value of x minus 1 minus 3. And each one of those, the 2, the -1, and the minus 3, are going to cause transformations to the graph, changes to the graph. So let's go one by one. Let's start with the -1. Okay, the -1 is, first of all, a shift. Okay. I know it's a shift because it has adding and subtracting. I know it is a horizontal shift. Okay, so let me go back. Shifting, I know, happens when you have adding or subtracting. I know this is a horizontal shift because that -1 is on the inside of the absolute value. And then because it's a minus, I know that I'm going to go to the right 1 unit. So that's my first transformation, is I'm going to shift the graph 1 unit to the right. So if I were to do y equals absolute value of x minus 1, that's the only transformation, that -1, that will take all of the points that we see here on this graph and move them over to the right. So right 1 unit, and it will be a graph that looks like this. Still a V, but shifted to the right 1 unit. Okay, so then let's look at that next one, which is 2. Okay, so that 2, it's not adding or subtracting, that 2 is multiplied. So instead of being a shift, what we have is something called a stretch or compression. So because it was multiplying by a number, that's why I knew it's a stretch or compression. That 2 is on the outside of the absolute value, so it's going to be a vertical stretch or compression. So that's because it's on the outside. Now, because I'm multiplying by 2, which is greater than 1, I know this is called a stretch. So what's going to happen when we put that 2 into our graph stretches vertically, becomes skinnier. So then the last transformation is this -3. The -3 is going to be a shift. I know it's a shift because shifts are when you have adding or subtracting. That -3 is on the outside of the absolute value, so I know it's going to be a vertical shift. So I know that because that 3 is on the outside of the absolute value. And because it's a minus, I know that my shift is going to be down 3. So because it's a minus. So I'm going to take that blue graph that I've drawn, which is a skinnier absolute value, and shift it down 3. And that will be my final graph, y equals 2 absolute value of x minus 1 minus 3. And so that looks like answer choice B to me. Thank you for checking out my videos. Have a great day.